This episode is sponsored by Squarespace. Whether you need a domain, website, or online store, make your next move with Squarespace. When I was studying in seminary, we used to have this phrase which just said, "We preach best what we need to hear most." I'm going to have a bit of a rant today, but it really is because I need to remind myself of this quite a lot. So let me give you a bit of backstory. This week I went out and bought the Fuji X-T20. And to help pay for this, I sold some other gear, including my original Fuji X100. And that camera was great. It was, lightweight and it was small, fit in a bag with me every day. It was 35mm equivalent, so it was great for street photography. It was fairly nondescript, so people didn't pay attention to me. That first generation one had the Bayer sensor, which renders color quite beautifully. And it had its quirks. I mean, its autofocus was terrible, you've heard me say. And some of the operation, it tended to be a little bit clunky being that first generation one. But for me, it was a tool that did a specific job. But as a tool, the Fuji X100 kind of hit its limits for me. I wanted to shoot portraits sometimes, and I even bought the little tele focal length converter on it, so it gives you a 50mm equivalent on that, but the focusing was just too bad to be able to shoot lifestyle portraits with people on the go. I wanted to see if I could find a camera system which was still lightweight, still nondescript on the street, but gave me the ability to shoot a little more intimately with subjects. So that's why I got this, and I got the 23mm f2, which gives me basically exactly the same as what I had with the Fuji X100, and then I got the 35mm f1.4, which isn't as fast as the 35 f2. It's an older lens, but it's slightly shallower, and it's going to give me the opportunity when I slow down for those portraits that I will be able to click this on and get some really good looking stuff. So after I got the camera, I took a photograph of it and I posted it on my Instagram account and just said, I've sold the X100 and this is what I bought and this is probably what I'll be shooting with on my Instagram account from this point onwards. Now normally on my Instagram account, I'll get between 10, 15, 20 comments on a post. But this post got 5 times that. Some people said, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Your photos are going to get so much better now. Well done." Some people said things like, "Oh, but you said the X100 was amazing for street and you had reasons for it and now you've changed," as if sort of suggesting that, I'm now a hypocrite because I changed my mind. Some guys, a couple of them, got hold of me through their and different accounts saying, "Oh, we're really disappointed. I went out and bought an X100 because you said it was a good street camera and now you seem to be changing your mind." So this is how I really feel about all this stuff that I've just said. None of it matters. The fact that I used to shoot with the X100 doesn't matter. The fact that I now shoot with the X-T20 doesn't matter. The fact that all my professional work is shot on Canons does not matter. We obsess so much, and I'm saying this to myself as much, we obsess so much about the gear that we think we need, that we absolutely can't do without, that will take our photography to the next level. Never ever buy a camera because I use it, because I promise you, in Olympus, in Panasonic, in Canon, in Nikon, in Fuji, in Leica, in any other camera range, there are cameras that will do pretty much the same thing, and you will have to pixel peep so close to see any difference. The brand that you use, the lenses that you buy are only tools to be a photographer. Making you a good photographer is all about your brain behind the camera. I know I have a tendency to get too wrapped up in this. I'm much better at it than I used to be, but I looked through a lot of gear reviews and a lot of videos, a lot of tests before I bought the X-T20, and that's good. I mean, it's good to know what the camera does, but only looking at it in so much as it's a tool that's going to do the job of photography for me, but I still have the responsibility to be the photographer. I know way too many people who've gone out and spent huge amounts of money. They've maxed out credit cards on gear that they were convinced that they needed, and all that happened was they had a very, very fancy camera, but still took average photographs because the camera will not do the job for you. I want a medium format camera system. I mean, of course I do. I've looked at them for ages, especially for my portrait work. I think it would be lovely to have one. But I have to be honest with myself and say, I don't have the money to buy one. I can't afford one with where I'm at the moment. And will it actually make my photographs better? If I bought a brand new Hasselblad system with all the bells and whistles and started shooting portraits and posted them on my website and online, would people actually go, "Wow, on this date your photography went from bad or average to incredible overnight"? I don't think most people would even notice that I bought a new camera system unless I announced it, which says to me that what I have now is absolutely good enough, no excuses. I remember early on thinking if I went out and bought the same cameras that my heroes shot with, I would start to shoot the same images that they shot, the same quality. Obviously, that's bollocks. But that creeping can still start to sink into the back of our heads when we're processing this stuff, looking at the images that professional photographers are taking, thinking, well, I'll just spend a lot of money and I'll get those results. It's not the truth. I mean, I'm not one of the world's most amazing photographers, but I get quietly offended when people go to my website, and this has happened. They'll look through images and they'll go, wow, these look really great. You must have an amazing camera. I mean, that is as ridiculous as us going to a Michelin-starred restaurant, having some perspective-altering meal, and wanting to speak to the chef afterwards to say, hey, this was an incredible meal, you must have an amazing oven. I've literally heard people say stuff like, I can't shoot anymore until I get a better camera. I mean, gear, the idea of needing better gear is crippling them going out and taking photographs with what they have. Cartier-Bresson famously said, your first 10,000 photographs are your worst. If you're using gear as an excuse to not be shooting regularly, you're postponing getting those 10,000 out of your system so you can become a great photographer. I don't believe buying this new camera is going to make me take better photographs. I just think it's the right tool for the job. I think you can scroll back through my Instagram over the coming months, put the X-T20 shots against the X100, you'll be hard pressed to see a quality difference. I mean, my first 700 photographs on my Instagram account are from my iPhone, and I'm still proud of a lot of them. There is no excuse to not use the camera you have to go out there and develop what really counts, which is your photographer's brain. So remember, this is not what takes great photographs. This is. This is just the tool, and if you put any other camera in my hand, I hope that using my photography brain, I can still use it to take great images. So don't go out there dropping huge amounts of money you can't afford on fancy gear, thinking it will make your photography better, because it probably won't. There are much better investments to make. Take whatever camera you have, get out there and shoot as often as you can. Get those 10,000 photographs out of your system. You'll feel your photographs getting better rather than sitting and waiting and saving money, hoping that some camera will be a fix-all. Read about other photographers, develop yourself as a person, walk around even when you don't have a camera with you and recognize good light and think about it, process it in your brain, because this is where the photography actually happens. And if you put your time and energy here rather than here, I promise you, you'll be better before you know it. Thanks again to Squarespace for sponsoring this episode. Apparently this time you sponsored a rant. Sorry about that. So if you have a new project and you need a new website or a domain, they really are a great option. I've used them myself for years now for my photography websites. And the thing I love about them the most, and this may just show how old I am, is that back in the day you used to have to call up a webmaster, they would build your site in code, and anytime I needed to make even the smallest change, I'd have to pick up the phone and ask. He would have to find time to do it, so I'd have to wait, and then he'd bill me for the time that it took to make those changes. With Squarespace, none of that is true. They're already beautifully designed. The templates are very, very easy to use. I can go into the back end, I can drag in new images, I can change text, I can move pages around, I can hide pages, make pages live. I can do that all myself on the fly, and for me, that kind of freedom is invaluable. Start your free trial today at squarespace.com and go to squarespace.com/Sean Tucker to get 10% off your first purchase.